and I empty this bag of mostly imported ingredients, mostly wrapped in plastic. And there was a construction guy in the kitchen still sort of finishing things off. And he doesn't speak English. At that time, I don't speak Indonesian. And he just looked, and I felt shame. I felt shame in my body because I knew I'd spend more money on that bag of food that he would make in a month. And he's doing that work because he's sending that money to his family. And I'm here, and I felt, ooh. But I'm like, all right, we got to do this. So since his job was going to be finished soon there, I offered him a job. I said, come, we're going to bake bread together. Because I saw him working the concrete mill. I'm like, he will make a good bread kneader. So he became my first kitchen employee. Yudi, his name was. And me and him, and no language, started cooking together. And
Hi, I'm Patricia Kathleen. I travel the world with a mic in hand and questions to ask. And this is where those conversations live. My guests and I get into everything: work, identity, creativity, purpose, the big stuff, the messy stuff, and the stuff that actually matters. From alleyway chats to studio sit-downs, I bring you with me as I talk to chefs, scientists, artists, activists, whoever around me has a story worth hearing. Wherever you're listening from, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Now let's get into it. Your full name and your position at Zest.
Okay. So my full name would be Simon Une Jongenotter. Simon being my birth name, Une is my grandfather's name, Jongenotter is my family name.
Okay.
And my position is I'm the co-founder and the chef food creator here at Zest. Yeah.
So you were a co-founder of the original, and when was it founded?
2017. And a man named Pierre, who's my partner, pretty much dragged me out of my comfort zone, which is a small mountain village an hour north from here, where I spent many years living in a silent retreat center, cooking the food, but also growing food, and really relating to the earth. Being on the earth and actually trying to understand the ecosystem, trying to understand how can I grow food and cook food in a way that supports this ecosystem rather than suppressing it. It became an obsession for me. I can meditate for hours watching a sandwich getting devoured by ants and just learn so much from the cycles of nature. And so I observed the way Balinese people traditionally grow their food, which is not in straight lines, which is not in gardens. They have their rice fields, which is a later introduction by the Chinese. But they had something very special that they call Tanah Tegal, which is kind of like a forest, but it's not a natural forest. It's not an old growth rainforest. It's a man-made food forest. And they go there whenever they need something, like going to a supermarket. They need a yellow coconut for this ceremony, you got it. You need this particular leaf, you got it. And then you can go foraging there because things grow there sort of semi-wild. And they use that for medicine and for food. And then, because they create an ecosystem, they can go hunting there. Because the birds are there and the little squirrels that eat their coconuts or their durians, so they compete with them and they balance them out by the hunting. Or even the big water dragons that roam the rivers, which there are plenty of in Bali. They'll shoot them and they'll eat them. That's their protein, not chicken. That's a newly introduced protein. Fascinating.
So absolutely. So this like harmonious, almost symbiotic ecosystem that is, part of the Balinesian culture that you observed and looked at. How did you start to implement that in the Silent Retreat Center into how you cook? Did you forage? Did you create a similar environment for the food that you wanted to engage with?
Yeah. A little backstory. We can go a little bit slow, right? It's so good. I came to the Silent Retreat straight out of Australia, a chef with a background, in professional kitchens, as well as someone who just loves nature, loves the earth. Also loves meditation and yoga, that kind of thing. So the Silent Retreat hired me because they thought, well, you're the right guy, because we're a meditation yoga center, and you can cook, apparently. Go for it. Help us to create this retreat center. So I was given an empty kitchen with little equipment and no staff. And I was instructed by the founder, like, we need healthy food. Yeah, this is going to be for yogis. She said, don't cook anything with eyeballs. Right, she's from California as well. I think you get along.
Absolutely.
She spent a lot of time in Esalen in California, retreat center there. She gave me the Esalen cookbook.
Okay.
And she goes, that might be nice for you, but hey, you'll find your way. I felt a bit pressured because I'm like, what do yogis want to eat? So I go to Ubud on my motorbike and I go to the health food shops here. And I started buying the things that they were serving in all the health food cafes at the time. Spirulina from Hawaii, chickpeas from some Middle Eastern country for the hummus, you name it, like all the imported ingredients. And I came back to the Silent Retreat and I emptied this bag of mostly imported ingredients, mostly wrapped in plastic. And there was a construction guy in the kitchen still sort of finishing things off. And he doesn't speak English. At that time, I don't speak Indonesian. And he just looked, and I felt shame. I felt shame in my body because I knew I'd spend more money on that bag of food that he would make in a month. And he's doing that work because he's sending that money to his family. And I'm here, and I felt, ooh. But I'm like, all right, we got to do this. So since his job was going to be finished soon there, I offered him a job. I said, come, we're going to bake bread together. Because I saw him work in the concrete mill. I'm like, he will make a good bread kneader. So he became my first kitchen employee. Yudi, his name was. And me and him, and no language, started cooking together. And 2-3 weeks leading up to a day where the owner came back, meet me, and said, all right, let's see what you come up with. And she invited a whole bunch of her friends from Ubud, owner of the yoga barn, owner of restaurants, influential people. And she invited them to the Silent Retreat. They're going to try your food.
Yeah.
And if they like it, we'll keep you. So she didn't say it like that, but it was kind of the notion. So I did a whole buffet. Maybe 30, 40 people came. We feed them. It was healthy and colorful. And they loved it. They said it was great. Let's roll with it. The guy can cook. But I was feeling left like sort of frustrated and like there's something in my being like I don't want to cook this food just because we say it's healthy. And then I thought to myself, surely this land is packed with superfoods. Superfoods were only coined by David Wolf, probably from California. He's somewhere on that side, because he started discovering these sort of, potent foods, and they became trends. And then trends travel. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. But how about we start discovering the health foods of Bali? And how about we start learning, are those foods not only good for our body, but are they good for everything and everyone? Because I can grow chickpeas here, but there's going to be hard work. And I will need to spray them and take care of them. And I will need to get compost from somewhere. Is that still good then, even though they might be good for us? And I looked outside at the Silent Retreat, we're in the jungle there, and I see all these trees, and I'm like, I'm sure half of them are edible. I just don't know it yet, know? And I'm sure a lot of them are good for you. So that was the quest. And I kept cooking and cooking, but then every day I would go on missions in the morning, because the day starts early there, and I would discover local ingredients, and I would bring them back into the kitchen. And a defining moment was when Ikung, the gardener from the Silent Retreat, who spoke a bit of English, he saw me struggling. He saw this big city guy walking around his land, looking at ingredients, and he goes, hey, you wanna come to my house for breakfast? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, come with me. And this was early in the morning at 6:30. We walk over from the Silent Retreat through the rice field to what's called a pondok. It's not even a village, it's like a settlement in the rice field, little houses. Where he grew up. He was born and raised there. And I got to meet his mother. And his mother was sitting on an upside down bucket And she'd made herself a little wood fire, just a couple of sticks, and on there was a pot, and she's stirring in this pot with a bunch of lemongrass. I'm like, well, that's a ladle. That's really cool. So she stirred and said, what's inside there? Snails. It was full of snails that she had foraged in the rice field in the morning, and she's stirring them with the lemongrass, infusing it, and she just goes, he wants spicy in Indonesian, and he said, yeah, sure, give him spicy. And she reached over, there was a chili bush next to their house, and she just grabs the chili of the bush, cracks it in half, and throws it in the pot. And it was such a defining moment for me, because like, this is a cook. This is a cook. I'm not a cook, that's a cook. You know, this woman is so close to the earth. You know, we eat the snails, and they're nice, and then they were just preparing for ceremony that day. So they're wrapping pork intestines from a freshly killed pig inside a cacao leaf, and wrapping them and putting them on the fire. And I started to get inspired, like, well, I cannot cook pork intestines, but I can wrap things in cacao leaves. I didn't know you could do that. You know, are they poisonous? Oh, great. So I started wrapping cacao things in cacao leaves and serving them as desserts. And he showed me many things, like bamboo shoots, like young bamboo from the forest. He would take me hunt for like bees' nests and eat the larvae. Again, not vegan. But you know, so many roots and shoots he would show me. And I thought, and you know, and he had his own food forest, and I thought, wow, this is the way. So I continued bringing those ingredients into the kitchen, but then I would go, what would this look like in the West? So I would want to do a lasagna with a creamy sauce and a tangy sauce, but I don't have tomatoes, I don't have cheese, I don't even have pasta. But can I bring that essence back? And as a chef, I've always learned flavor is a combination of taste, texture, and aroma, and the emotional experience you're having. That's what we're always taught, and that's what we're always doing. When we're creating dishes as a chef, you always balance those things out, the texture, the taste, the aromas, and possibly the childhood memories. Because Chinese people like chewy food and Western people don't. It's just memory. We get used to these things, right? So I started going, okay, I want to create this comforting lasagna, but because I don't have tomatoes, I would just find something else that's sweet. Well, papayas were everywhere. So I would take a papaya and I would put it in the pan, and I would start adding things. I discovered burnt sauerkraut and mustard seeds and rosemary with papaya and a touch of vinegar and some rosemary. I say, it starts tasting like some sort of Napoli kind of tomato sauce. And like, this is really cool. I start layering that. Okay, I don't have lasagna sheets. Why don't I just do slices of cassava roots? And then I just get a coconut, and we squeeze the milk, and we thicken it with tapioca, which is cassava starch, which we make ourselves, and some nutritional yeast. And I get this cheese sauce, and I put that on the top. And that's the lasagna. And I would just bring it up there to the buffet, and I would write a label. Every day I would be cooking and creating and writing labels right before dinner time, food forest lasagna. And people were eating it, and somehow they loved this food. They couldn't get enough of it. And I'm sure it wasn't just the taste, it was something about straight from the earth. So Patricia said, hey, or not Patricia didn't say that, the founder, the earth told me. I was in the garden, I just get this overwhelming knowing I need to start doing talks in this silent retreat. And I was so shy in those days. I couldn't fathom I could do public speaking, but something pushed me to do it. So one day I called it Chat and Chai. I organized this, you know, I made chai tea, gave everyone, and I sat there, and I'm nervous, and I'm like, why is everyone so quiet? It's a silent retreat. And they start laughing, and they thought it was funny. And then I said, look, I'm pretty shy about this, but I have all of these things that I'm learning from the earth here. I'm here to share them with you. And I started doing talks. And those talks were so good because they could connect people emotionally to the food they were eating. And that sort of started reminding them of how beautiful this earth is. And that we all can tune into ourselves, and how can we connect with this earth deeper, with all the beings, all the plants and all the animals, and really feel that we're a part of this. How can we love this earth deeper and grieve the earth when she's hurting, and widen that grief and love spectrum, and really sort of become earth beings again? That was really the essence that was coming through me through food. It was so rich.
And you felt the need to communicate that with them.
To communicate.
You were like, I want to make sure that you're connecting these principles together.
Yes, but most of all, I wanted to connect. So I started doing those talks, and sure, I talk, but then other people got, I need to share something. And so it became almost like sharing circles.
Yeah.
Which started off maybe me talking a lot, but then that turned into what I call connection circles or earth circles, and I do them ever since, everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
And where less and less I have to talk. But the whole point was that it was almost like we are an ecosystem.
Yes.
And life was showing me like we've become disconnected from our hearts to each other, and from the earth and from the foods we're eating. So we've become so scattered. And that's why disease is so prevalent. Because what is a cancer cell other than a little cell by itself? It's like, I'm scared, so I'm going to grow really big to get your attention, sort of thing. I started having these insights like, all the healing modalities are important, but unless we connect again to ourselves, to our heart, to the earth, through our food and through our communities, which have always formed because those Balinese communities, they're there because they're all living around their food, right? And they're not trying to be a community. They don't do community building around here. Communities form the necessity to be together and to harmonize.
Right. So you're connecting people with the knowledge, with the food, creating an awareness of this entire ecosystem that we are a part of, that we exist within, that we utilize. You're doing all of this, you start sharing the knowledge, you have these circles, these chai chats that you're doing.
Yeah.
How does Pierre come find you, convince you, and extract you to come to Ubud
Extract me, I like
and
it.
start Zest?
Yeah, well actually what happened is, thank you. So Jade, a mother of 2 children, came to the silent retreat, ate the food and loved it. And she was the one actually that called me aside. She goes, I want to start a cafe in Ubud across from a birth clinic. I want this, I'm a mother, I want this to be a space for mothers and anyone, but I want this to be a familiar, like a family space. And I love your food, can you help me? So that was my first time that I could leave that silent retreat. Of course, I always come to Ubud because I love it, but I would leave the silent retreat and create something away from the silent retreat. So we created Mother Cafe, it's still there. And Pierre at the time was running Swasti Eco Cottages, some eco resort, because that's his background in hospitality. My whole spirit said, yes, let's do this.
Was the building here, or did you construct everything?
Yeah, no, the building was here, and he worked with an architect and designed it, because it was an older building. But these are the original posts. But, you know, he had the vision. This has been added on later.
So you're meeting with him, he's constructing, he's got these great ideas, you're both very excited.
Yeah.
When you started envisioning the menu, where was the inspiration? Did it get drawn from the silent retreat? Did you completely start from scratch with all of the knowledge that you had maintained, with the new testimony of the Bali ecosystem?
Yeah.
What was your goal and your motive as you started to curate the original menu?
Thank you. So, look, Pierre gave me the chance to be a part of this. My heart wants to communicate this food philosophy to people. Local ingredients, of course, not using any chemicals. I have a whole way of running a kitchen. I run it with love. We don't scream at each other in this kitchen, you know. We get together in the morning in a circle, we hold hands and pray. Like that's me. I believe in this. You were speaking about, you know, harmonizing the hearts. We are doing that. And we're making a pact with everyone. Like if you're carrying some frustration, some anger, we're gonna place this in the fire every morning. So we're creating this unified field. And from there, that's the soil, the ecosystem can grow. You know, so I have a way of doing that, and that's very much been my work here at Zest. And you know, me coming in here, I wanted to communicate, so immediately I started my weekly talks there, like immediately. And I started writing the menu in certain ways. And Zest in those early days was very much a new earth cooking. This is what my style of cooking, Chef Simon menu. And no refined ingredients, no flour, no imported ingredients would make it onto this menu. It's like, no, this is for Bali. I was very strict. And it worked because Zest was such a hit in those days, and there was nothing like this. So I think it really worked because of that as well.
Did it start off small? Did it start off with just breakfast, lunch? Was it always
Oh no,
breakfast, lunch,
it started
dinner?
off ecstatic. It started off, you know, all right, little backstory. We are, at some point, the investor behind Zest starts telling Pierre, like, come on, boys, it's time to open. And we start feeling a little bit pushed. So we were like, not feeling it yet, but all right, let's go. So I started training the kitchen, but it felt a bit forced. And we're like a week into the training, and I arrive at Zest one morning, and the retaining wall here, if you notice we're on a hill, it has a huge retaining wall. It collapsed after a rainstorm onto the road. It blocked this road for 2 weeks. And Pierre was standing there with his hands like, oh my God. And he's like, we're not opening Zest anytime soon. So we had to send the whole team home. And we told them, if you come back in a couple months when this is repaired, we hire you. And most of them came back. And it was almost, for me, I take those things, it can be a coincidence, but I was like, I don't feel this is ready to open.
Yeah.
And so we had a bit more time to really ponder and to get creative. And and in those days, I went to proper old growth rainforest in Borneo. I just went there and I spent time with the indigenous man who took me on a boat to some serious remote places. And he showed me forest. He was protecting that from logging, illegal logging. And we slept in the jungle. And I mean, for me, it's being in an old growth, untouched rainforest is the most incredible. I could live there, you know?
Yeah.
But somehow spending time in this old growth rainforest, again, I started getting these insights from nature. And this one was around coffee. And I like a cup of coffee, don't get me wrong, but it was about the whole world is so coffee focused. And it's causing a lot of suffering to nature because of a lot of logging. And it was something about the coffee needs to grow in the shade, but all the forest is cleared. And it was something about the consciousness it brings to people. It makes them very heady. And I somehow got the push to stop coffee. And from that day on, I didn't drink coffee for 2 years. And I got this inspiration to create this very potent drink with cacao that for me hits the spot just as well. So that drink was born in my house. And so when we opened Zest properly this time, and I had been to the forest, the first thing I put on the menu was the cacao ceremony. And I could just see people sitting here on these beautiful sofas with their cacao instead of coffee, being more in their heart and in their head and connecting and sharing on a frequency that would connect them deeper. And alegria, that's great. But maybe also they will, because there are a lot of meetings happening in restaurants that have huge results in the world. Like businesses are born here, you know? Like it's amazing, we hold space for that as a restaurant. And I felt almost like maybe the cacao will lead them in a better direction, who knows? So I felt it's so important we put this cacao on the menu. And it became a hit. The cacao ceremony is still our bestseller. Out of all the food items, anything, cacao ceremony. And what's so cool, it's humbling, it has one ingredient, it's cacao. We don't even put milk or anything, it's cacao emulsified with water and a little touch of sweetener if you like, which is made from the palm tree. Now in our food forest, the palm tree and the cacao tree grow next to each other, so they are a marriage. And then you can have the coconut cream on top, which also grows there. So it's 3 trees growing together, and now you put them in a drink together, you know, off you go. So it's a beautiful example of nature as well.
Yeah.
Which there's so many other things I want to share. So I'm not a strict vegan by any stretch of the imagination. I'm someone, my whole life I've been like, I just want to know what's there to eat. My mom grows food in her garden. My mom bakes bread. I come from a family, I feel very blessed that, you know, we always had access to fresh food. Wherever I go in the world, I want to understand, what do the locals eat? What do they grow? My wife is Turkish, for example. When we're in Turkey, off we go, you know. When I'm in China, I go really local. Like that's what I do. I love it. That's how I connect. And then when I see the farms, I want to understand what would grow even easier here. because I also see the destruction. I'm in Turkey, it's great, all these olives and all this stuff, but like the country's been deforested.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Bali. It's great, all these rice fields, but it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
There was a time where it was, so then I start thinking like, as chefs, how can we have our little impact in using those ingredients that possibly support the ecosystem even more? And that I call New Earth cooking. And if there's space for it, there's a New Earth cooking food philosophy that helps people make better choices. Yeah, I still remember like we were standing in the parking here, Pierre and I, on our motorbikes kind of chatting. And he goes, should we do vegan or a little fish, eggs? What do we do? And we were like, no, vegan would be a nice strong concept. And it's like, how about we say powered by plants? Because I don't like the vegan word because it feels divisive. Like,
Yeah.
are you vegan or not? It's this identity, and I don't like it because I want to sit around the table with people and eat. It's like, let's just eat food.
Yeah.
And so he goes, powered by plants, I said, and then he goes, made for people. So it's still like, and it was like, that became our tagline, which we created together. Powered by plants, made for people. That was
Love it.
Zest for the first few years until it changed to earth-kissed food made with joy. That's our latest tagline when we rebranded the logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really the reason we felt at the time, especially, it's changed now, but the community here really enjoyed eating vegan food.
Were you concerned with your history and just all of the cooking that you had done with this new kind of editorial lens, this edit with the vegan, or were you open to going there? Did you feel confident in designing an entire vegan menu?
Oh yeah.
Or were you a little trepidatious?
Not at all, because I was cooking vegetarian food, mostly vegan. At the silent retreat, I was doing vegan plus duck eggs. And the duck eggs were from the rice fields. The thing is, in Bali, there are not that many edible animals. I mean, like, it's not like there are paddocks everywhere with huge beef cows, but there are just incredible roots, fruits, and shoots all around us, year-round fruits and seeds and some nuts. There's just so much plant-based, the coconuts is such a backbone of our food. There's good fats, coconut and cacao and avocado, durian. So nutritionally in the tropics, I feel you can somewhat live like a orangutan, which orangutan in Indonesia means the man of the forest.
Yeah.
And they eat roots, fruits, and shoots. A little cheeky egg, sometimes they steal. I believe sometimes they go out on a frenzy and they kill a few animals and a couple other monkeys. Gorillas do that for sure. And so I felt like as humans, maybe, a bit of animal product, which, in the tropics with so much sunlight and energy, you can live quite comfortably on these plant-based diets.
Yeah.
So let's roll with that.
So no fear in composing your original menu. How vast was it? How much variety? Did you start, when you finally opened, did you start serving breakfast, lunch, dinner? What were your hours? And did you sign off on that as the chef, or was that mandated?
So no, I just went in the kitchen with a few guys that we hired, who both became the head chef eventually. It's really cool to see their journey. One moved on, and the next one became the head chef. I picked those two guys up there. I still remember we came here and we just go in the kitchen. I said, where do we start? I said, look, we got a whole bunch of spices. Yeah, we're going to make this puzzle now. We're going to toast them all up ourselves, and then we're going to grind them all up perfectly. I'm going to show you how much to toast them, how much to grind them, put them in containers and label them. Cumin, coriander seeds, cloves, nutmeg, you had it, That was our, there. Okay?
Yeah.
And then we got our fresh spices. We got ginger, turmeric, all these things, lemongrass in those baskets. And then we got the coconut oil, and we just start building, and we got the fresh coconut and we're squeezing it. So we just start building these puzzle pieces. Little boxes in the fridge. We got the spinach, the blind spinach, the chopped spinach. So you create all these puzzle pieces, well, I do. And then at some point we had a big wok burner, still do, and a grill and an oven. And then it's just like, okay, we got like all these opportunities. Let's do a dish. Let's do our first dish. But that first dish, for example, one of the first dishes was called the Bangkok Bang. Why I call it the Bangkok Bang? Because it was Thai inspired, it had the galangal and the chili and all that. But I don't want to upset Thai people because it's not traditional. I don't follow the recipe. So I called it the Bangkok Bang. And it was just this wok dish, but it didn't have any starch in it, so no noodles. So almost like a, like a vegetable stir fry, kind of like a warm salad, but then cold salads on top. And some crispy things. It was kind of a complex dish.
So total spice, no coconut, no cream based, just all spices.
So it was a spice based, bunch of really good fresh vegetables, all wok fried. And then we're going to start topping it with a cashew sour cream and a crispy corn fritter and lots of coriander and some of that fermented vegetables. So it became like this ideal bowl that I love eating. It's full of flavor, it's full of ingredients.
Is the fermented the cold salad on top?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that sort of thing, and I start teaching the guys how to use this wok, and then, soon they become better at it than me because they're walking all day long. And so a lot of our food, because apparently there used to be a Chinese restaurant in here. And the Chinese restaurant is actually really brilliant. They have 100 dishes on the menu, but they're all puzzle pieces. So in the kitchen is not that complex, but a lot of it is cooked last minute. Mm-hmm. And our kitchen is actually the same because I like things to be really cooked. I don't like something take out of the fridge, heat it up and serve it. We don't do that, because when you cook something, you need to energize it. You can have things that are prepared in the fridge ready, but then when the order comes in, the assembling starts, bang, 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 plating it. So it's still up until today how we do it. It's kind of a fiery kitchen with a lot of movement.
So the Bangkok Bang was your first child?
One of them.
One of them.
Yeah, another one, the Run Piglet Run. So Gusti, who became our head chef, and now is his own chef designing his own menus. I'm so proud of him in another health food place because his time was done. When we hired him, I asked him, what do you do for a job? He goes, I just grow pigs at home. So, he worked as a chef before, but he was like, nah, these days I'm just pig farming. And I said, I'm concerned your wife is not going to let you in the bed. I start teasing him. He goes, why don't we get into the plant-based pig business? And he goes, what are you talking about? Because you got jackfruit at home, yeah? I said, okay, bring us the jackfruit from your house. Because he had a huge land, still has, with lots of trees. And he starts bringing jackfruits to the kitchen, and I start writing invoices, and he starts selling jackfruits to his own kitchen. That's my idea. And then we start taking this jackfruit and turning it into this pulled pork texture. And then we start spicing it up and making it all porky and umami. And then we made this wrap, like a tortilla, but using local mung beans.
The wrap.
Yeah, so using local mung beans, which we soak and blend. So we made this wrap, like a wheat flour tortilla, but using things that grow here. And then we put that pulled pork inside, jackfruit, and some salads and barbecue sauce and everything, and wrap it up. And it became the Run Piglet Run. And nicely cut, toasted, cut into 4 pieces on a plate. It was great. Yeah. And the story of this dish was that his piglets had run away. And he can sleep with his wife again, all fresh, because he's a jackfruit farmer. I made up this funny story for Instagram.
Excellent. I love it. Everyone needs a backstory.
Yeah, so that's another dish.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you're starting off with these savories. You're jumping all over continents. You've got a tortilla kind of thing happening with the jackfruit moment. From there, how do you look at, your menu currently as like a lot of the traditional, what you find, like the smoothie bowls, the different representations of the fruit and the things that are here with like the granola, all of those wonderful elements. How do you start to add on to the dishes? Are you just continually being inspired by these backstories and these like prolific long-term employees that you bring in, or how does it start to take form?
Yeah, it's a real learning curve. In a sort of childlike way, I wanted Zest to be my menu, and it was always fine because it was always busy, and I didn't really care what people thought of it. Like if someone said they don't like it, I'm like, you don't understand. This is for the earth. I was kind of cocky. Come to my talk, and we could get away with that behavior because we're packed every day. And then the pandemic hit, and it was kind of eerie to see Zest getting more and more quiet. Around us, many restaurants were closing. I would say in the end, 90% went bankrupt. Zest survived without firing one person, but it took a real restructuring. And this is also when Pierre, with his entrepreneurial mind, he started really like, bro, we're gonna have to do some different food. But I was like, nah, because how can I possibly put important ingredients on this menu? And I started really meditating on this, and it came to me actually in Uluwatu. I was in Uluwatu. I was on the beach, and again, sometimes it's epiphanies. Like, no, this is no longer just about me. This is about Zest and what Zest needs. And ironically, or interestingly, the owner of this land, who was a famous artist painter, his son is our business partner. So the owner of this land, the guardian of this land, he passed away in those days. When I was in Uluwatu, that's the night he passed away. It was almost like after he passed, he came to me and he starts advising me. Which is interesting because his son had told me like, yeah, he's your spirit guide now. So, it's Bali. So it was almost like with his passing, the passing of Wayan Munut, God, rest in peace, Zest had to die and rebirth. And it's hard to say because when you create a restaurant, it's such an emotional process. It's sometimes hard to explain to people around you that you're kind of like, you would know, you have 4 children, you know something I don't know, but when you birth, you probably become like, I know what I'm doing, everyone help me. I've become a little bit like that when birthing a new menu. Like, it's really an intense process. And particularly this one in the pandemic. And it just came to me, now we're gonna get wheat flour, we're gonna bake bread, sourdough bread, we're gonna get matcha powder, do matcha lattes. We're gonna put burgers on the menu. Burgers. With real wheat flour buns and a gluten-free version. We're gonna do sushi. This came to me like, we're gonna do all these crowd pleasers, and we're gonna now try to cook food that the people who are here, they're gonna enjoy because it reminds them of home. Like a lot of Russians started coming in the pandemic to our restaurants, and a lot of expats that are just craving the simple sort of Italian flavors. So we started tweaking the menu. Particularly the sushi was funny. I was in Uluwatu still, and I go to a local sushi restaurant with my friends, and they had one vegan option on the menu. And I tried these rolls, and I'm like, they're really good. And I came to this like, you know what? Sushi doesn't need fish. It's actually just rice, and the rice holds space for whatever you put there. So it can also be a smoky paprika or whatever, doesn't matter. So I called Gusti, our head chef, and this is how you know you're really close with someone. I said, bro, I need you to come to Uluwatu. It's a 2-hour drive. Yeah. Like now, because I need you to try the sushi. So he came the next morning, came in his car, and we go to the sushi restaurant with a whole bunch of things. And I said to him, I've never really made sushi rolls, to be honest. I never worked in Japanese restaurant. He goes, me neither. He goes, well, I have a friend who went on a cruise ship and then he jumped off in the United States and he became an illegal sushi chef. He's been there 10 years. I will text him. So he's WhatsApping his friend and he's giving us real-time instructions on how to make really good sushi rolls. All the ingredients. So we pull up a Japanese supplier and it felt kind of freeing. Yeah. Like I can just order whatever I want now because I no longer have my own restrictions placed on this, but I can still hold on to my essence that I want to help people connect to the earth, but let's free ourselves. So we order all this stuff, like all this, I don't know what they're all called, all this shoju and all this stuff and the chopsticks and the little bamboo mats, everything that we need to make sushi rolls. And we go back to Zest the next day and Gusti showed up. He was wearing a Japanese,
Excellent. Excellent.
And he got himself bought with his own money this razor sharp knife, Japanese knife. And he came and he's like, I'm a sushi chef. And I just like, that's so gold.
Excellent.
I love you so much, bro. And he goes, so he was gonna make this, he had the kombu sheets and he was infusing the syrup for the rice with the vinegar. And so I'm like, oh, thank God he wants to do this because I didn't feel like it. So he started creating the base and I'm like, all right, let's do fillings. Let's make, and it was actually a friend of us who said, well, you should make some tuna type taste. I'm like, good idea. So again, jackfruit with seaweed, and we make this sort of tuna type, thing.
Yeah.
And the jackfruit tuna sushi was born. And we had, so we make 5 different rolls.
How did you feel when it was born and it got implemented to the menu? Did you think, this is a natural progression, or did you actually feel like it's now changing from my original menu into something else?
Yeah.
It's a collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to, life humbled me.
Yeah.
Like, this whole restaurant's not all about you. Like, we still gotta make food that people want to eat.
Right.
And it can be about you, like infuse yourself, but try to meet them where they're at.
I want to climb into that a little bit because I've talked to a lot of chefs over the past 4 years. And this can be, like you said, a lightning bolt moment or something that slowly makes sense over time.
Yeah.
But the menu is always mission critical. It is their love, it is their expression, it's their work.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you go to remove something or add something on, I've never had anyone say, oh yeah, we just added that on. You know, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of consideration. Yeah. Does it play well with all of the other things? Is it making sense, you know, on its own? So do you have original items on your menu that have stayed from day one? Like, and how do you currently, how many times a year or ever do you look at and edit or revamp the menu?
Okay. I'd have to have a look in the menu and see. There's definitely early days items, but everything constantly evolves. I would say easily that the menu now is better than it was.
Okay.
Like just because we've become more grounded but it's definitely not more original. It was definitely more original in those days. Mm-hmm. But I also think the crowd in those days was very experimental. Like you would walk into Zest, you would only see like what we call like the Ubud tribe, like the conscious crowds. You wouldn't see people who are clearly just tourists visiting Bali. And I don't mean to make distinctions, but you can kind of see the people. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And then nowadays, it's mostly what I would say like tourist visitors, which again is beautiful and they're getting an introduction. So we also need to meet them because they're not necessarily interested in this complex bowl with all these flavors and the whole food forest philosophy. Some of them is their first time in a vegan restaurant. They're just happy to have a burger. But I say that with love and actually like, yeah, I get you. You know, I get it.
So at the beginning of Zest, because you have events, you have a lot of different things that happen here. You know, there's a lot of different... Ubud is known as being a spiritual mecca, you know, and has been for the 20 years I've known it.
Yeah.
It's definitely intensified and changed flavor with all of that. But Zest has an identity, you know, that is both married to what I believe you've described as your ethos, with the connection to the land, you know, the video on the website, connecting the food to the culture and the land of Bali, as well as kind of this like spirit of the time, this zeitgeist of where Ubud is right now. Like you're saying, the clientele changed, so did the spirit of Ubud, you know, so did the growth and the population of Ubud. So how do people come and to host events here? Is it curated by you and Pierre? You know, some of the different groups that come and have events or things here. Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? Are they a product of the zeitgeist? Are they a product of you? How does that all work?
Yeah, nice. So let's go back to the original event.
Okay.
That is in our first week of opening. We opened around Bali Spirit Festival time, so it would have been 7 years ago because we're about to have another Bali Spirit Festival. So yeah, it's 2018. That was day one. Maybe 10 people came, and I just asked them, look, I just gave them the food. Next day they came back with their friends, so there was 20, 30 people. Our menu was like a printed Google Docs sheet that had sauce stains on it, and we give that to the people, and then I just said, hey, look, drop a donation for this food, all right? Fourth day there were more, fifth day there were more, and the sixth day Pierre brought in the ecstatic dance crowd, and they all received this Google Docs piece of paper with the sauce stains on it that had sort of a menu on it. And at some point, maybe the week after, we're standing in the entrance here, and this restaurant is pretty much full, and there are people like eating and laughing, and the waitresses are running around, and the vibe is good, and I think like we're doing a good job. And Pierre's looking, he's like, maybe we should print the menu, no? Because you see these nicely dressed people with that Google Docs sheet, like, oh, okay. Maybe they thought it was cool. And then I bring in the food, but then, you know, it's like us as an ecosystem, we make this whole thing happen. We hold that.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's vetted by this group, and then it's kind of brought into this molding moment where the event can happen and be part of this unity with Zest.
Yeah.
How much of the transition or metamorphosis after COVID do you think was based on these events versus just kind of the acceptance and the growth of the menu and the changing? Like Zest has become a very different thing with all of these things happening.
Yeah.
And the two affect one another, right? The events affect Zest, Zest affects the events.
Yeah, sure.
So how much of it do you think is based on the groups brought in versus just the spirit of the times in Ubud?
I think it's all the spirit of the time. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it's hard to describe for any of us that are part of Zest. We're like a family, mm-hmm. and we all have this individual dedication to the spirit of this place.
Yeah.
It's like individually we feel we have to be here. Sometimes hard for our partners even to understand. Like, oh, you're always at Zest. I'm like, I have to be. Mm-hmm. It's not because someone is telling us. It's not Pierre is telling me or. No, we are all individually like an ecosystem, and we get hugely passionate about our own things, and then we just have to harmonize our interests.
So is the ecosystem always adapting, or does the ecosystem plan ahead? Does the forest know the future? Does it plan for the future?
Yeah.
Because it survives harsh storms. So
Yeah.
Does Zest look ahead, or does Zest simply exist in the now? Because right now, over the past 2 years that I've been
Yeah.
coming back, people are starting to look, there's demand. Uluwatu, Chengu, people are like a Zest in another place.
Oh yeah.
More Zest locations. Has
Yeah.
that ever been a consideration of yours?
Yeah, I mean, all the time we get these offers, and we brought another restaurant, the Canggu. But I feel that like Zest is the way it is, not just because of a concept. Mm-hmm. It's something that happened on this land.
Yeah.
Let's honor this land first. This is Champuan, that means meeting of two rivers. This is the birthplace of Bali. This is look in the ancient scriptures, mm-hmm. where the two rivers meet. The Javanese priest meditated and Bali was born. It's right down by the bridge here. This ridge has held space for artists and creators forever. Mm-hmm. And since the 1930s, European artists have been coming here, found themselves a piece of land. Rudolf Bonnet started the young artist movement here. Wayan Munut, the owner of Zest, he was inspired by him. He was from Holland. There's so much that happened here before us. And I believe in spirit in that sense, like that creates the place and the land. And so both Pierre and I truly believe that spirit called us here to create something, and we do, and we did. And it's beautiful. I don't have this sort of like corporate mindset, like, oh, now we have to multiply it. Because it's beautiful. However, if I still go to other places and I create, I've created many things since. I just spent time in the Middle East for a bit. I've been to Australia, Philippines, you name it, Turkey. I go places and I help to create things. Mm-hmm. But if I'm no longer needed, I'm also out. I'm very unconditional about it.
Yeah.
Pierre's created many things since. But like this Zest, this in Ubud, on this land, with these people, yeah, it's a great brand. It could one day grow.
So
or not.
Zest has its own specific vibe that's,
Yeah.
formidable.
Yeah.
Unarguably.
Yeah.
But I wonder, how is the community or local vibe amongst other vegan restaurants in Ubud? So you've got new players on the scene, tentatively newer, Plant Bistro,
Yeah.
people like that. You have Sayuri Healing Food, who's been here for a while before she launched her own gig.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of Alchemy,
Yeah.
OGs on the scene.
Yeah.
But do you all get together and sit down and chat from time to time? Or is it of one another? Do you talk about the different, because you all have very different niches. Nobody's competing. Zest is very unlike Alchemy to me.
Yes.
And it's very, very unlike Plant Bistro. It's unlike the Raw Temple. It's all very, very different. So there's space for everyone at the top.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering how the communication goes between the founders. Do you chat? Do you know one another? Do you have potlucks? What happens?
We should have more potlucks. I only 2 weeks ago, I text Shanti, who is the food creator of Alchemy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, let's hang out. And she's like, I'd love to. And then so I invited her to something, she couldn't make it. So we're meant to hang out. I think Alchemy would have been the first one to arrive here. And I think Shanti has been the food instigator there. And it grew the way it grew. It's beautiful. And they now have outlet in Uluwatu as well, which is beautiful. And she has her own academy.
Yeah, I interviewed her.
And Pierre knows the entrepreneur behind Alchemy. I don't. I only know Shanti a little bit. And she used to run food trainings. And she invited me to do Earth Talk in her food training.
Yep.
So we have this loving understanding, but we're very little in touch with each other. The way I see it is like, especially Alchemy, Zest, Sayuri, that's such a perfect triangle. If you want this really nice, clean, healthy food, which sometimes I do, you go to Alchemy, you have one of their salads. It's amazing what they do. And I find Sayuri such a nourishing space, but I find her such a nourishing human. She's a closer friend, like especially a few years ago, we'd spend a lot of time together and really good friends. And I could just see how much love she put into her restaurant, and I always support that, you know. And
Did you deliberately do different menus? Because it is shocking to me, having eaten a lot at all of them, you know, how different the menus are. And I was like, I wonder if it was in response to, or if they just organically all had different ideas.
For me, it's always been organic, because I never copy anyone. Anyone's items. I mean, sometimes you go to a restaurant, you get inspired, like, oh, that's really cool what they do, and then you might.
Yeah.
But I never copied, like, I never go to Sayuri and say, oh, let's copy this or that.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you rebel against trends as a chef, or do you try and integrate them?
Yeah.
Like, I always talk about avocado toast is like K-pop.
Yeah.
It hit the scene so fast, and it didn't go anywhere.
No.
You know, all of a sudden, I grew up on it, and everyone thought I was crazy. Because in Southern California, avocados are like required. You know, you eat 3 a day. And when it became something that like it was everywhere. You know, my coffee shop to like the French bistro in San Diego had avocado toast, you know, and it was this kind of acceptance. And I've always wondered if is there a play out with you as a chef where, you know, you're inspired by it or you acquiesce to it because they're like, listen, we got to offer it. Everybody wants it. Do you have a rebellion to it, or do you have a curiosity to it when you hit something such as avocado toast where it's like it's not going anywhere, everyone wants it?
Right. I mean, avocado toast makes sense because it's crispy toast with fatty avocado. It's perfect. And then avocados in Bali are just not good. And everyone knows it. They're just not good.
I know.
It's the cultivar, maybe they're growing here. They have a farm now that does Hass avocados. Maybe they're going to do better.
Yeah.
But to find a dense, creamy avocado like you find in California is very hard. They're always watery here with the weather. So when I put avocado toast on here, I'm going to add things and do a different bread, like a banana flour bread, because at least it honors the land. And I'm going to add some wasabi and kimchi and stuff. And then I call it Japanese-ish avocado toast. Yeah. And I still want to do my own thing, and I enjoy eating it. But some people might be like, "Oh, this is not avocado toast." I'm like, "Well," so then I start rebelling.
Yeah, there it is.
And I used to terribly rebel against trends, but nowadays I'm a bit more actually curious. Like, what's the thing with pistachios? Everyone's loving pistachios, but then I was like, "Oh,
who's doing the marketing for them?"
Pistachios are really delicious.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I use them before? So now I made a pistachio chocolate here, but I can't just blindly copy something they do on Instagram. Like, Pierre saw a pistachio chocolate on Instagram, someone was doing it. And he sent it, "Oh, can you send this to our pastry guy? Maybe he can make it." I'm like, "Nah, it's not really how it works, but I'll show you why." So I sent the video to the pastry guy and let him do it. He followed the recipe from Instagram. It didn't taste good, and the food cost was 150,000 rupiah per item, because it required so much pistachio, which are an imported item in Bali.
Yeah.
And so, didn't taste good. We would have to sell it for $40, you know, converted. It was the point. So created something, you know, else, and it's working well. It's delicious.
Do you have? How many staff do you have in the kitchen?
It will be at least 25.
What's the retention like? I mean, you've had stories of people, from day one.
Yeah.
But with the regular retention with everyone from chefs, dishwasher, host, waiters.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a family and people do stay around long. But we also have a strong emphasis on if it's your time to go, we're really going to help you in going. Because we don't want anyone to stick around. We don't want any contracted energy. When our chef left Gusti, that was a big moment, but it was also, I always knew it's the right thing.
Yeah.
And now his second guy is rising up to be the head chef, so yeah.
Do you only hire Balinese people or does it matter? Is it just whoever's here interested and wanting to work?
No, I mean, best man on the job, but they're always Balinese. They're just so good.
Yeah.
And like, good luck. And also it's difficult with the work visas and stuff. But for example, we tried an international restaurant manager in the beginning, and he had an assistant, which was Ayu, a Balinese woman. And just observing their dynamic, I couldn't help but mean, but I whispered to Ayu, I'm like, he's your assistant. You wait. She goes, no, Blima, you cannot say that. Weeks later, not by any interference, the guy left and she became general manager and she ran the place for years. Until she started running another restaurant that we are connected to. So I just really believe in Balinese being from this land. They are natural hosts.
Yeah.
And they are an ecosystem.
What about your cooking school? How is it based? Did you approach it from the food or from a specific dish? And how long are the classes?
All right. So back to the silent retreats. New Earth cooking is this philosophy that was born that has a really strong message, right? A really strong invite for people to really connect to themselves, to their community, to the earth. People love this food. They start asking me, hey, can I have the recipe? I'm like, yeah, I can, but do you have coconuts in Germany? Not so many, right? So what's the point? But based on their really wanting to learn what I was doing, I decided, okay, I'm going to have to build a cooking school. And this happened, this place. But this is really a place that holds space for people to find their way back into their heart, back to the earth, back into their community. And this is also a place where we're honoring Bali in the way that I think we should honor Bali. So this is a place where hopefully we can show the world the true wealth of Bali, which is the land and the nature, right? So by now the school is pretty much run by a Balinese community who, this morning they text me, hey, we're going to close for 3 days, just so you know. That's the level of self-governance they have.
Okay.
It's in their village. It's about their village. It's about the wisdom that's there. And you can come there as a student. And you can just be part of our family.
So they can just exist. So you set up the structure. How long is the school? Is it 3 days, 7 days?
Okay, we've been around 7 years. We're there every day, 6 days a week. We get together in the morning. We sit in a circle. We have huge gardens, but they're all forest gardens, where we go and play. We forage, and create things, and then we have a huge kitchen. It's an old chicken farm that we converted, where we cook together based on what we find. So the essence of what I do, it's there. But it's not even about the recipe, it's not about the food, it's that togetherness. And then we eat around 2 o'clock like a family. And then the day will wrap up around 3. So that's the structure.
Who can attend?
Anyone. And we organize classes Tuesdays and Fridays. But what those classes are, they're really food experiences where we welcome people into our home, which is the school. We sit together and we do our morning circle. We invite people there to, some people come and they're all like, oh, I want to join this class. And then they go into their heart and like, I'm really tired. I want to lie on the couch here. And they lie on the couch, or I just want to hang out with the grandma and make offerings. That's what they do. So by doing this heart circle, we invite people into not what you're supposed to do here, but be here with us. And then some people stay around and they stay for weeks or months as interns. and they're part of our family. And so they come places with us, like Iwan, who runs the school. He comes on Wednesdays here and he runs a workshop for the community. He brings plants from our garden. So yeah, our school is really that. It's a place where we are discovering how to be true community, how to commune with the land, with each other, and how to honor the sacred land that Bali is. We are growing our own rice now. Once we really get the hang of it, we're only 3 or 4 harvests in. So we've been doing this for like a year and a half. But once we really nail it, we can share that with other farmers.
Where is your terrace located? Which district? Which region?
Tabanan, so it's an hour northwest. Yeah.
You like Jatiluwi?
Yeah, right before Jatiluwi, 10 minutes down. An old chicken shed that became available and converted it into a space where we are cooking, dancing, playing guitar, laughing, you know, you name it, it's there. It's a family hub. It's non-for-profit. It's anyone who wants a piece of me, I say, yeah, you got to bring money to the school. The school is like my place. Give money there because they'll use it for beautiful things.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of people been through there and been inspired and go back home and create their own garden, their own farm, their own healing center. So many beautiful seeds have sprouted that were planted there. So I'm proud of that part.
You're growing your own cassava, your tapioca is every single thing you're using in your kitchen, other than the stuff that you started importing, your basics, your spices, are most of them grown here still?
They're grown in Bali. But we work with the organic farms and we work with suppliers. Yeah, this is very much a restaurant. Yeah.
When you travel, do you visit other vegan places, or do you just visit locals and how locals eat and just go from there?
I mean, I like real food, right?
What is real food?
Well, I got so depressed in Turkey, in Istanbul, and the Turkish food culture is so strong and so beautiful, and it's all about sitting around tables with lots of food, and it's about, I see the value of that, I see the beauty of that. So I enjoy that culture, I enjoy the food. And then we decided with Aidan, let's go to like this vegan place, this health food place. Because I was craving for a bit of Zest vibes, you know, I was hoping for some different people. I was craving that. And so we went to this vegan place and it felt so forced and so detached from Turkey. And the menu had nothing to do with Turkey. There was a turmeric latte on there, turmeric and coconut milk, and there was no good energy in there. There were books on the shelves. One book I picked up, it was just ranting on how bad cheese is. They're not about how good their vegan cheese would be. I'm like, write a book passionately about vegan cheese. No, it's just about cheese is bad for you. And I'm sitting there, I'm from Holland, come on. I'm just getting depressed being in here. And so, no, I don't really like going to those places, but I love going to places that are loving food and loving community, and there are many of them. And if I can help them do some more plant-based options or something, then I will. Because I like plant-based food for that reason. I like the connection it has to the earth. I like the gentleness and the friendliness and the seasonality. It's easy to cut up an animal and grill it and put it on a plate, and people will probably enjoy it. But to do plant food well, it takes more, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, so, yeah.
What do you think, now let's do some judgment.
Yeah.
That's something that's always hard or easy, depending. What do you think some of the main issues with like vegan food as it stands right now? During your travels, we've talked about this kind of depressing culture that you bumped into in Turkey. But what do you think some of the struggles or issues currently are with vegan food happening?
Well, I think both vegans and meat eaters, they judge each other and they create division, and it creates a hostility that I think is the last thing we need right now in the world. So I would say let's meet in the middle. You can spell it like M-E-A-T.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, like, do we really have to fight over this? But I think humans, they like to identify with something because they want to belong to something. So you want to belong to the vegan tribe, go for it. Or you want to belong to the meat tribe. And people struggle with health issues as well, chronic illnesses. And sometimes they find that going on a certain diet helps them, relieves the symptoms. But don't be confused that true healing doesn't happen just by a diet change. True healing happens on a much deeper level. So now the diet becomes like the holy grail of my health. and I have to do anything in my mind to convince everyone around me they should eat like this, because look, it worked for me. So they are carnivores, they only eat meat. They want the whole world now to only eat meat because it works for them. Because maybe they are allergic to some items, but ultimately these allergies, they're also a microbiome issue. Because if you have a healthy ecosystem, you can digest anything. There are people surviving on any food anywhere in the world, right? From all the meat to all the plants. Look at India. It's mostly, well, not all, but there's a lot of vegetarianism. People are thriving.
Yeah.
But, you know, Inuits are thriving on meat, but it's also location dependent. So yes, I just wanted to say, like, let's go to Mother Earth and let's ask her, like, what can we eat? And if we truly sincerely ask that question and connect to the earth, we'll get the answers. I mean, if we were all carnivore in Bali, imagine where all these cows are going to come from. All these, because they all want to eat like sirloin steak or something, or like, you know, they all want a certain cut. You know, there's all these biohackers now living in Canggu. They all want this grass-fed meat, but there's no grass-fed cows in. Well, there are. It's like the ones that they eat come from Australia. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I see people thriving, like local people sometimes thriving really well on. But
vastly different, like, environments create vastly different abilities and needs.
Yes.
What is your favorite thing on your menu?
On the
Yours,
Zest, on,
not like what's most popular. Your favorite thing on the Zest menu.
All right. Well, so what really, I think I hit a real sweet spot. So, as I said, my wife.
Are you going to say your favorite thing to cook or your favorite thing to eat?
This is my very favorite thing now.
Okay.
I'm going to share with you. So my wife is Turkish, and like I said, Turkish people have a very strong sort of taste buds and preferences, and they love their Turkish food. And so she never really liked anything here, but and that hurts my heart. No, she's always like,
it's wonderful.
She's always eating in other restaurants. I'm like, where you are, babe? Oh, come on. So I love the way Turkish people have breakfast. They sit around and there's pots of tea and there's all these delicious little plates, and it's just very slow, and they eat slow and a lot around 10, 11 o'clock, and then you start your day. And so and the original name of the Turkish land is not even Turkey, it's Anatolia. That's the original land. So I came up with this Anatolian inspired brunch. I just started cooking it, and we do like, all these different items, like a little hummus, a little grilled potato sort of omelette with, and in like kafta, but made with jackfruit that tastes really good, and little like, olives, imported, who cares, some olive oil to dip different types of bread, like fire grilled bread, banana flour bread, and all kinds of things. It's like a beautiful table full of items. And so I came up with that, and we're like, all right, we're going to invite you and all your Turkish friends. There happen to be a few Turkish people around, so we did several rounds of having all these Turkish people sitting here eating. They're loving it. And it doesn't even have meat or dairy, which is usually a vital part of the Turkish breakfast, but it has the flavor. It's some marinated strawberries, it's yummy. Comes with the tea. And so the Anatolian inspired breakfast, we're going to launch it tomorrow, I think, or definitely by next week. If
Are
you're still
you
around.
really?
Yes.
I won't be here next week, but now you've got to be kidding me.
Yes.
I have to try this.
You have to try it with your family, because it's a family breakfast. It serves 2 to 3
it's
people.
how we eat.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
Before napkin.
Okay, I'll try.
We do a whole bunch of little, like, it's charcuterie kind of inspired, but every little bits of like 90 different dishes. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our favorite, our family favorite.
That.
This is everything.
And then I think, like, wow, maybe this is the new way now. And I even want to, because we have the tea house, I would even love to do it there, because then we have some artist music, and then we're pouring like really good tea, because it's like sitting in unlimited tea. You drink the tea, and then you eat.
Does your wife like it?
She loves it. Yeah,
You won.
Like, I really won on that
Victory.
one. She and then, and then her Turkish friends start visiting from Turkey, and several times they came here. They all love it. And then when I please people, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what's your least favorite thing on your menu?
it's called kitchery. Yeah, it's something that yogis
never
like
had
to eat. It's some dish with like mung beans and rice. And apparently Sayuri's khichdi is better because people always tell me. And I put khichdi on the menu because Pierre is like, come on, people want this.
Yeah.
And it's so bland, but I try to spice it up and then people say it's too spiced. And it's one of those dishes that I just don't like it so much.
Yeah.
But people have also told me they really enjoy it. And objectively, it's not a bad dish. It's just because when you eat khichdi, it should be really bland. It should be for people who've been very pita, so they've been running around, eating lots of spicy food. They put them on a khichdi diet where you just eat khichdi slow and you meditate. Maybe.
I can't have, that's just not my cup of tea.
Me neither. And the worst thing is my mom came and normally I'm like, Mom, when you're in Zest, let me order for you. And I order things she loves. But she came one day, because they were recently here, and she sits, and before I know it, she'd ordered the khichdi. And so when I came, she's eating this huge bowl of rice and beans, and and her husband had a burger, and she's putting his tomato ketchup on the khichdi.
Yeah.
Mom's a good cook. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, yeah, it needs a little. I said, I know, you ordered the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But then some people are like, they need that calm in their nervous system. They like
fiery pita.
So it's not a bad item. I believe it's nice. It has yummy. It's yummy.
Good.
But don't
At least
order
you're
it.
decisive. What's your favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert? I just made so one of my first chef's jobs was in England. And in England has delicious food actually, and really good chefs. We wouldn't realize that. And I worked in this nice restaurant, but they had this comfort food which is called a banoffee pie. And how they make it is a tin of condensed milk, which they boil for 6 hours, and it turns into this delicious caramel fudge, toffee it turns into. Yeah. And then you just layer that with bananas, and you ended up with double cream. And it's this delicious banana caramel pie. And I made a lighter vegan version of that, obviously no condensed milk. And it's in the display case, and I just think it's very high in cacao butter, but it's so satisfying.
Yeah, rich.
I like it, it's rich, but it's got the banana. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, well, England, you need things that stick with you in that cold climate sometimes.
Yes, yeah.
So, you're invited to a dinner party somewhere in Ubud. They're like, hey, Simon, come on over. Are you always expected to bring food? Like, if you show up without a dish, are people like, where's the food? As a chef, do you love always bringing food? Do you love having that always being expected of you? Or I'll give you an example. I have a girlfriend in the United States. She's a very famous doctor. And every single party she's ever gone to since she got out of med school, people are like, hey, I got a question for you. Is this okay? She's always on the job. Yeah. And she said it used to just frustrate her. And she said, and I sat down with a colleague of mine, and she said, get over it. Yeah. And she was like, it's my lot in life. She's like, I now give advice on buses if they want it. It's just like she's soaked into it. Do you get tired of being a chef, or are you always trying to make sure people have your food?
Yeah, I think from my heart, I'm not a chef. I'm someone who likes to bring people together, and food is one of my avenues. I also like to sing and play guitar these days. I like to, and I love coming to people's homes and eating their food. Mm-hmm. So just because I love food doesn't mean I always want to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very much. Or just because I'm a chef doesn't mean I want to hang out with all the chefs. So sometimes people are like, oh, you got to meet this chef. But then we meet each other like, yeah, dude, I know. We both understand.
Yeah.
So we don't have much to talk about. We're like, yeah, I know. We're both cooking. So it's that. So yeah. But then sometimes people specifically ask us to come and cook in their place. And I do enjoy that. It's almost like we're activating their kitchen. And here in Bali, they often have Balinese staff, so I cook with them. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I don't like it to be expected. And I also very much like to come to someone's place and they have all this delicious food, and then I can just enjoy it.
Yeah. And chefs are people too.
Yes. So
they
are medical people or hairdressers.
Yeah.
You don't expect them to get a haircut just because they're
agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think I have some kind of a glutton for punishment, because I love cooking for chefs. You know, I love having them over and let's see. I think it's so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, the judgment or the understanding or the, you know, and I love cooking, but I don't care about technicality. My goal is flavor and delivery, like happiness, you know, and if those two things are accomplished, I did my job.
And that's the thing. I often find that when people invite me, they think I'm going to know better. But actually, when they cook, I'm like, how did you even do this? This tastes more delicious than I could possibly do it. So, I'm going to learn from you here. When
I come back to Bali, I'm going to cook for you.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'll have you over. I love it because you've been cooking for me for the past 3 years.
Yes. So
I would love it.
Yes, I would be honored.
So you're going to meet with me. You probably know nothing about me or what. I didn't send you any questions for this interview. You didn't ask for any. You're the only person who never asked for any.
No, I just show up.
I don't provide them until I'm asked, and then I just send them things that I may or may not get to. But is there anything that I have not asked you that you think should have been asked or should have been spoken about?
Not really. I'm a bit like a jukebox, as you can tell. You just sort of put coins in, and I just talk probably too much.
No, we're a good parent. This is everything. This is great.
But I think for today, now I've given it all, and I feel happy with everything you asked, and I just feel happy when I get to share this.
I do too.
But there's nothing that comes to mind. Just want to say big gratitude to everyone at Zest. Like it's such an amazing place. Every single member of the team here. I just admire them so much. Like I look at this girl, she's running around all day with a smile. I just don't know how they do it. So I'm forever grateful that I get to be here and sit and talk with all my self-importance about all these things whilst they're actually doing the work. So really, really proud of them and grateful for them because I've given a lot to Zest, but I've received so much from just being here. So much healing, so much joy. And so much sanity that I get to keep by being in this place. So really grateful for this place.
Because you're part of the ecosystem.
Yes, right? That's it. Yes.
Your original ecosystem.
Yeah.
You're just part of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so
to
much.
you and your family for coming here and asking these questions and bringing this into the world in whatever way it serves. I'm happy. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I really appreciate it. Dank u wel.
Dank je wel, alsjeblieft.
Alsjeblieft.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Borderless. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you like this episode, please subscribe so that you can continue to hear fascinating conversations as I continue to wander the globe. You can follow us on Instagram at Borderless-podcast or head over to our website, borderless-podcast.com for more info and updates. This episode was produced by Patricia Kathleen Productions, and a special thank you to the team that makes it all happen. Cherie Ternate, Emma Baker, and Finn Wild. Wherever you are in the world, I hope our conversation made you feel a little more seen and connected. Until next time, take good care.